Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome along to Now Near Next Live by PML Group in association with IMJ and Adworld. My name is Colin Harmon, Marketing Director with PML Group. We launched our Now Near Next Thought Leadership Series in the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland in April 2020. In the Republic of Ireland, you may have seen it's been published weekly on the pages of Adworld since then. Initially, Now Near Next was produced as part of our business's response to the pandemic, using a data-led approach to show how out-of-home advertising could remain relevant and effective as restrictions on our movements were put in place. As you can imagine, the series has evolved and we're now in a very different scenario. The government and public health stay-at-home message of a year ago is now one that actively encourages as much of an outdoor life as possible, especially in the summer months ahead. So as society opens and people emerge with renewed optimism and joy, the out-of-home medium is ideally placed to connect brands and audiences on the island this summer. This webinar series will explore these opportunities and more. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, we'll be hearing from highly respected voices from the media and creative industry, as well as key out-of-home media owners and our own team here at PML Group on the power of out-of-home in the now, the near, and the next. So it's an opportune time to rediscover outdoor, and I'm delighted to introduce our panel for today's session. Declan Kelly is Deputy Managing Director of Zenith, a media agency which is part of Core's group of marketing communications agencies. Zenith's clients include KFC, E1, Reckitt, National Broadband Ireland, and the Delata Hotel Group. Louise Enright is Director of Source Out of Home, which is part of PML Group. Louise heads up a team that plan and buy out-of-home campaigns for clients including Diageo, McDonald's, AIB, Nestle, and the National Lottery. Tony O'Flanagan is Marketing Director with JC2Co, an out-of-home media owner who manage a wide variety of classic digital and transport formats in both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And John McGee is Editor and Publisher of IMJ and Adworld and is a leading commentator and writer on media in Ireland. Feel free to post any thoughts on today's session to our hashtag NNNLive. If you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A or the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the session. So John, I might just kick off with you if I may, just a couple of quick fire questions, I guess, for the panel. And a significant summer ahead for out of home and the country in general, government and public health officials actively encouraging an outdoor life.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, if you look over the last number of weeks, there's been several consumer-focused surveys. There's been one from Core, there's been one from B&A, and more recently PML, Ipsos, MRBI. And I think they all point to kind of a summer of renewed optimism. And there's a lot of pent-up demand in there. In the economy at the moment, people are out spending, they want to go on holidays, can't wait to go out dining, they can't wait to go out drinking. So all of these things I think are good for the economy. But I also think as well that we have to manage all of this very carefully, the industry in general across the board, whether it's hoteliers, publicans, etc. Because, let's not forget the virus is still out there. And, I think we can all have a great, fun outdoor summer, but we have to be mindful of, what is going on in the background in terms of, COVID cases and variants and etc.
Sure. Tony, morning, welcome along.
Hi, Colin. Morning, everybody.
Tony, majorly challenging period for out of home in the last while, but a definite and rapid increase in demand in the sector in recent times.
Yeah, it's certainly been challenging, that's for sure. And I've heard other descriptions of it as well. But yeah, I guess with the rollout of the vaccine and the plans for the easing of restrictions, when they became public, there was a kind of renewed sense of confidence maybe from clients. And we have seen an uptick in demand as a result of that. So, we've had good activity throughout from retail, essential retail and quick service restaurants, and that's continued. And now I suppose with the easing of restrictions when it comes to bars and restaurants, particularly it's great to see Diageo brands up there and active again. And in Northern Ireland, again, a little bit ahead of us in terms of easing restrictions. They've had some good demand from the tourism sector, which is good to see, and hopefully a sign of things to come.
Yeah, hopefully the start of a busy summer ahead. And Declan Kelly, welcome along. Hi, Declan.
Oh, yeah.
Declan, you've identified a couple of standout out-of-home campaigns for you from recent months, and I think you're going to just describe them for us.
Yeah, I think one standout that we've all seen lots of is the HSE. It's there through every sort of stage of the various lockdown restrictions. And I think back to my delicious €9 toasty and pint, but seeing the HSE at that point of purchase, whether that's a restaurant or a bar, I think that's been a real sort of standout campaign for me. And then the second one, forgive me, picking one of our own clients, Senate, this KFC. And this is a very recent campaign up at the moment, which is promoting and reminding people of drive-through and collection. And just the ability to kind of map these within 10 kilometers of the actual KFC outlets, I think is a real strength of out of home. And if you look at the creative there, I think it uses outdoor particularly well.
So thanks, Declan. And we'll explore some of the points you made there in a bit more detail now, actually, because we'll get into the meat of today's session. And first up is Louise Enright, Director of Source Out of Home. And as we begin this series, Out of Home is emerging from probably its most difficult 15 months on record. But as restrictions lift, Out of Home is a priority channel for many brands again. So Louise is going to give us a quick reminder of some of the fundamental reasons why Out of Home media will be so effective across this summer. And she's going to present us with the six pack. So Louise, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Colin. Delighted to be here today to talk to you about my favourite medium. The scale and impact of Out of Home and what it delivers is very well established at this stage. It's a passively consumed media that asks nothing more of the consumer but to be noticed. It offers 24/7 visibility, it builds mass reach quickly across a wide variety of consumer touchpoints, not to mention that Out of Home cannot be turned off or skipped through. The 6 elements that I'm going to take you through are built on these fundamentals and are the key reasons Out of Home is an effective media choice for your brand in the months to come. So first up, we're on the move, which focuses on shifting audience mobility. We've used a wide variety of mobility sources to guide and inform clients here at PML Group, and they all point in one direction with a major step change in mobility in recent weeks, reflecting the loosening of restrictions on our movement. Overall, we're getting very close to pre-pandemic automobility levels, as you can see from the Locomizer, the TII and the Apple data referenced on this slide. Traffic levels and congestion have seen sharp increases in recent weeks, and May the 11th was the most congested day year to date. TomTom's reporting that traffic congestion in Dublin is now down only 9% versus the same day in 2019, and we're seeing similar pictures in Cork and Limerick. If you add to this that off-peak cycling is above both 2019 and 2020 levels, you can see that picture of increasing mobility as the audience moves more out of home. And we're seeing a very similar picture in Northern Ireland. Despite restrictions in place throughout Q1 2021, we saw driving activity increase week on week. Activity remained higher than the Republic of Ireland and Great Britain regions throughout the lockdown period, and it remains comparable now with the rest of the UK, despite being a few weeks behind them in the relaxation phase. With Northern Ireland having a quicker vaccine rollout and the earlier relaxing of restrictions than the Republic of Ireland, we've seen increasing audience movement in NI a few weeks ahead of us here, and we now look like we're following the same trajectory in ROI. So on to point 2, Out of Home, a local hero or a national icon. The out of home landscape is constantly evolving and our infrastructure has never been stronger. COVID didn't stop investment in the medium, and there's been improvements in both the standard of classic formats, which is well complemented by multiple networks of the highest quality digital screens. But it is the way in which out of home ads are served and created through these screens that's really been game changing for our industry. There's been an explosion in data-driven planning and message delivery, which is facilitated by smart content management systems such as our live poster platform. And really it all means that brands can be more strategic in how they execute out of home. The national footprint of out of home, combined with the ability to deliver digital innovation at scale and optimized messaging, means the medium can deliver sophisticated mass marketing solutions for clients. Our Going Local research study from last year highlighted the opportunity in combining a national platform with a local emphasis. 72% of all adults said they are now more likely to notice out-of-home posters in their locality, and nearly half of all adults in both ROI and NI feel more connected to the brands using these out-of-home sites. And that really extends to how and where consumers spend their money. 3 out of every 4 adults feel a responsibility to spend money locally and to support local businesses. And this trend shows no sign of abating, and so being present and active in communities will remain very important post-pandemic. So on to point 3, win friends and influence people. And the next few slides are a quick reminder of how out-of-home can combine so effectively with other media and its power to influence. So when you combine out-of-home with TV, it reinforces the visual aspects of television and captures light TV viewers when they are out of home. Out of home adds a visual element to audio, as well as offering amplification for audio being consumed on the move. Out of home drives both online action as well as marrying the physical and the virtual worlds, and it complements daily print activations. Ultimately, consumers are looking to out of home for information, and out of home reaches consumers during that crucial final window of influence. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay on the slides coming through. And out of home reaches consumers during that crucial final window of influence, right at the point of sale. Point of sale has been a hugely important environment in the last year, and we anticipate that importance growing and continuing in the months to come. So on to point 4, action stations. So given some of its other core attributes, out of home's ability to drive response and create actions can be overlooked. Our React research from 2021 shows that consumers are very aware of their own actions as a result of encountering out-of-home advertising. These actions are being performed both online and in the real world. On seeing an out-of-home ad, 46% of respondents go online to learn more, with 1/4 making a purchase in store and 29% making a purchase online. For online brands such as Disney+, this is obviously hugely significant, and out-of-home has been a key strategic channel for that advertiser from launch onwards. When we look at the age breakdown of these key stats, there's strong responses across all age groups for going online to find out more information. 35 to 44-year-olds are the most likely to make a purchase online on seeing an out-of-home ad, and 16 to 24-year-olds are most likely to visit a brand's social media page or pages. We delve deeper into the strength of out-of-home and driving online responses in next week's session, so we'll move on from here. So 5, your flexible friend. More than ever, we need to provide advertisers with agile and flexible solutions for digital out-of-home. We're able to change digital display with the flick of a switch to ensure campaigns are relevant when it's the most important time for them. The right message in the right place at the right time. Digital out-of-home is delivering. It's delivering the impactful power of out-of-home, flexibility in terms of content, time and location, control of output via live poster, and measurement by working with clients and internal systems to gauge effectiveness. The image on the slide is a recent example from Northern Ireland for Carlsberg, which was a one-day activation that ran on the day Outdoor Hospitality reopened on the 30th of April. The copy reads, "The best Friday in ages, probably," and it tapped into the anticipation on the day, delivering strong contextual copy that resonated with positive sentiment felt for a return to normality. And ultimately, context is king. The agility of our live poster platform allows us to set campaigns up in advance, set the data triggers in place, and react to live events to ensure clients are presenting the most appropriate and effective campaign. Put simply, using context to tell the right message at the right time, not the same message all the time. The Belfast Telegraph image shown is an excellent example of this. Once the official vaccine count changes, so too does the campaign message on street, with that millionth vaccine milestone being reached on Tuesday, as you can see from the image on the slide. And we know that it works. Our Moment of Truth research highlights the effectiveness of digital out-of-home through use of contextually relevant content, showing uplifts across all metrics, noticeability, recall, and ultimately driving sales. We've much more on digital dynamic and our application to out-of-home in our 3rd session on June the 3rd, so we'll move on from here. So finally, 6, trust me, I'm a poster. The currency and trust of media has come more and more into focus in recent times. Consumers have consistently regarded out-of-home advertising as trustworthy, with multiple research studies we've used in Now Near Next speaking to this, not to mention how other media such as print and TV trust out-of-home to promote their own brand messaging. Our own IQ research shows that more than half of all Dublin adults believe advertising on a billboard makes a brand more trustworthy. 81% of consumers point to trust in a brand being a deciding factor in their purchase journey. Out of home is there, it's in the physical world, and you can verify it on site. So there you have the 6-pack. I hope I've infused you with my enthusiasm for the strength and power of out of home, not to mention its flexibility and agility. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Louise. Great stuff. I think that was really well worth a revisit, set the scene for the sessions to come in the next few weeks as well. And as you say, much of the content you've covered there, we will be addressing in a bit more detail in the coming weeks. Might just hone in on a couple of the points there. Just to get some views from the other members of the panel before we continue. And Declan, if I can turn to you first on mobility. That's obviously been a major challenge for out of home in 2020 and in 2021 to date. How closely do you, agencies and clients, watch these figures, and do the current trends you're seeing now maybe negate some of those fears and perceptions maybe that have built up over the last year?
Yeah, so we would watch those figures quite closely. And if you think of the way technology is able to give those figures, the TomTom, the Apple, so it's really reassuring. But we wouldn't just look at that. Other things we're looking at is consumer sentiment. You know, how is the consumer feeling? We also, John referenced their own studies into the what people's plans are, you know, as the restrictions lift. What are they going to spend on? So you're trying to connect all these different threads to, you know, to see what the best course of action from that is. But certainly the mobility stuff is really, really important and a good proof point for us.
Cool, thank you. Louise, these data sources, they've really become invaluable to us, and perhaps an outcome of the pandemic will be that the importance of these will grow as we move forward. Currently, how big a role are they playing then in planning as within your team?
Well, as you said, they're absolutely invaluable. They allow our teams to give strategic recommendations based on the most relevant, the most up-to-date information, and not to mention that we can respond to shifts in audience behaviour, we can chase the audience and adapt our planning according to audience behaviour, where they are, and the trends that we're seeing from the most recent information. So yes, they really are a critical part of our planning and will continue to be so.
Thanks. And Declan, if I could just come back to you on another point Louise brought up in regard to people's increasing awareness of their localities. Look, I think it's fair to say out of home has not suddenly become a local medium overnight, but perhaps an element that has been overlooked in the past, given the medium's strength in urban and in high density footfall locations. But post-pandemic, from a media, from a creative point of view as well, that local message is certainly going to be one to consider. I suppose from your point of view, clients such as National Broadband Ireland would come to mind. Yeah,
so the power of outdoor to deliver a local audience or a rural audience, there's nothing new there. It's always had that strength. You mentioned NBI, you know, be able to pinpoint a specific area related to the broadband rollout. We see it with the credit union. You know, they might want to make a splash on that big 48 sheet. They might be the only one in the town. So that's always been the strength of out of home locally. But I think the real opportunity is this is going to be a summer like no other, with all the people staying in the country. You know, traveling, holidays is really going to increase. So I think it's a strength that can be played to by agencies and clients this year in particular.
Right. Okay. We're going to come back to domestic tourism towards the end of the session, but in the meantime, I'm going to pass over now to our second speaker today. Is Tony O'Flanagan, who's the marketing director of JC&Co. Tony.
Okay. Thanks, Colin, and good morning, everyone. I'm just waiting to get control here of the slides. It doesn't seem to be working for me. Okay, got it now. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking with you about what we think is going to happen as society continues to reopen as restrictions are eased. Yeah, sorry, we're catching up here. And what that means from an out-of-home perspective, and then where the opportunities lie as far as brands who want to be seen out in the public space again and kind of make those reconnections with people at a time when they're really excited about getting back out into the outdoor environment. So this is about looking forward, so I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on the past, but just by way of context, I know it's not as if we'd have forgotten any of this stuff, but you know, COVID came out of nowhere last March, and since then, up till very recently, the messaging has been all about staying at home, not going out, and only going out for essential journeys. And obviously that's had a really detrimental effect on outdoor, obviously on society and economies as well. But a lot of brands obviously dialed down or are switched off as a result of this, and outdoor wasn't seen to be the place to be, and that's been hard obviously for us. The one area where there has been some positivity, and we've covered some of this already, both by Louise and Deck there, but consumers switch back to living local and shopping local, and we've put together some packs over the last 15 months or so, which comprise formats which are in those local areas, and Louise was talking about how they act almost like a part of the fabric of the local area, and people tend to notice them more as a result. They're looking out for information. It's almost like a public notice board. So they've been quite effective for some clients. And that's something that we think will continue to be important over the coming months, as Declan alluded to already. So I guess looking forward, we're all interested to know what's next. Now that restrictions are easing up, it's interesting to see, and we take some comfort from other countries and other experiences where the rollout of the vaccine is further ahead than we are, and easing of restrictions is ahead also. And John referred to we need to take cautious steps, but it is we do take comfort from the international experience and what we've seen from people who are ahead of us. And great to see cities like New York, London, Paris, all you know, reopening, and consumers and audiences eager to get back into the cities to socialise and to shop. Closer to home in Northern Ireland, we have digital formats in a number of shopping centres across Northern Ireland, and again they're ahead of us and reopened on April 30th. And feedback from our partners in Northern Ireland shopping centres is that footfall actually has been ahead of the same period in 2019, and average transactional values are up as well. So again, I suppose mirroring some of those surveys that we referred to a little earlier as well, that people are eager to get out and about. There is pent-up demand, they do have money and they're willing to spend it. So that's a positive place for brands to be as well. So I guess we're coming out of the longest lockdown in Europe, and one of the strictest, and we've all been in for quite some time now, and you know, I think it's reasonable to assume that people will want to get out and about now that they're allowed to do so, and the messaging from the government will also encourage people to do that. And that's been very much about moving on from the stay at home to think outdoor this summer, and we've heard a lot of talk about the outdoor summer as well. And you know, from our perspective, that's a message that we're quite keen on, and we've designed this campaign, which is currently running on our own formats, and that's all around thinking outdoor this summer. And again, you know, giving that message that that's a good place to be. And that's directed, I suppose, at the general public, but it's also directed at our friends in agencies and brands and clients as well. So that's something that we hope that will be taken on board. So the outdoor summer, and we've heard a lot about the outdoor summer, and what does this all mean? Well, I suppose with hotels and B&Bs opening up, I think next week in Northern Ireland, that's to be ratified today, I think. And then on June 2nd in the south, we expect, and I know, Colm, you're going to talk a little bit further about some stats in this regard, so I won't get into major detail, but we do expect to see significant audiences on the road on a national basis, and there's plenty of opportunities when it comes to different formats for reaching those audiences as they move about the country over the next few weeks and coming months. And again, you know, we've referred to some surveys in the questions there earlier on, and a recent survey by Amorach, and again, I know PML, you found the same in your study with Ipsos, released this week, the number one thing that people are looking forward to getting back and doing is going to pubs and restaurants. After being locked up for a number of months, I suppose that doesn't come as a surprise that that's something that we want to get out and do. But you have going to the cinema, going to live music performance, going shopping, attending a live sporting event, all of those things. They're the things that people want to get back to, I suppose the normal things that we're used to doing. And all of those things will increase the number of people out and about and in a positive frame of mind too, which is a good place again for brands to connect with audience while they're doing that. So a lot of those activities clearly would usually take place in cities. We like to go in and try out the latest restaurant or bar. We like to go to cultural events. We like to go to the cinema. And normally speaking, we do a lot of that and we go into the city or into town, as we often refer to it. And we can see that the city councils across the country are working very hard. They know that they have a job of work in hand to encourage people to come back into the city to make them feel safe. We see that Dublin City Council have appointed a senior executive to be the director of recovery. And we're actually currently running a campaign on our formats, welcoming people back to Dublin as well, which is a positive message, I think. And we've seen, in Cork, pedestrianisation, Dublin pedestrianisation, investment in public toilets, numerous cycle lanes have popped up all over the city as well over the last while. All of that makes for, I think, a much better experience when people come back into the city. And a lot of that is based around outdoor dining. Just yesterday, you might have seen there was an announcement by Limerick City Council that they're going to invest up to 3 million on a canopy to go over Cruises Street, which is one of the main shopping areas there, just to encourage people again to come back into the city and to have a more social aspect. And there's been funds made available for that, and also normal associated fees with outdoor dining for pubs and restaurants have been waived as well. So all that is a real plus. So the city, when people come back in, will look different. A lot of people haven't been in the city since pre-Christmas. And just this week, if you were in to start the shopping bonanza, some people have noticed traffic redirected. And this is just one example around Marion Row, which will be pedestrianised. A lot of bars and restaurants there, and hopefully that will breathe new life into that area and make it a completely different experience. So opportunities will come out of that for clients also. And another area, we introduced digital bus shelters last December. So again, a lot of people won't have seen this, but right in the heart of the city on Westmoreland Street and O'Connell Street. And these bus shelters, they're 86-inch screens, state of the art. They have 43-inch touch screens, so they're kind of befitting of what you might expect for a smart city. But they'll offer opportunities to reach audiences as they move around the city. And that brings our total number of digital screens on roadside to 134. So again, there's a significant footprint there for clients to communicate with audiences across Dublin. And early indications, obviously it's early days, but we had the opening of Click and Collect last week and the reopening of non-essential retail just on Monday. And there has been a significant bounce in footfall reported, and again, highlighting that fact that people want to get back out, they are eager, and they do feel that it's safe to do so far in the right way. And there has been increased reported spend as well, so again highlighting that pent-up demand. And I guess looking a little further ahead, and probably the government are maybe a little bit more bullish than they might have been even a few weeks ago, because I suppose the momentum of the rollout of the vaccine has gathered pace, and we all know people now who've been vaccinated, and we all know the plan for us when it comes to our turn as well. And the government, as a result, are hoping that the restrictions can be eased by the end of the summer. So that means we might get back into Croke Park, we might end up getting back to the cinemas, and we might end up going to live concerts and events, maybe quicker than we had anticipated before. And there will be opportunities from that as well, and that's something to look forward to also. And I guess then probably the final piece of the jigsaw will be getting back to work and offices, and clearly the cities have been quieter as a result of the fact that a lot of offices aren't open, and colleges as well. And I guess we've all been part of quite a large experiment when it comes to working from home, and it's really dug a lot of companies out of a hole being able to do that. But it does have its drawbacks as well, and I think there has been a shift in thinking around working from home over the last number of months. And we can see this is a KPMG survey that was carried out in August 2020, and again March 2021, interviewing 500 CEOs across 11 different territories. And when asked the question about downsizing their company's office in August 2020, 69% of CEOs felt that that's something that they would be interested in doing. And you fast forward to March 2021, and it's 17%. And similarly, when asked if they're going to hire talent that predominantly work remotely, 73% of CEOs said that they thought that that was something that they would want to do. And again, March 2021 has been quite the reverse, down to 21%. I think that's because, you know, companies, as we've gone through this period, are understanding that, you know, there's aspects of working from home that are obviously beneficial, but there's aspects which, you know, in terms of collaboration, creative thinking, working in team, developing team culture, they're all obviously much more difficult to do when everybody's working independently and separately in different locations. And even from an employee perspective, I suppose, you know, lots of talk about Zoom fatigue and missing water cooler moments and the office gossip. And I think NUI Galway released a survey this week, and that all reinforces all those messages as well. So as I said, I think that's probably the final piece of the jigsaw. Louise presented some very interesting mobility information there earlier on, and I think once the offices get back, we can expect to see that traffic levels will get back to pre-pandemic levels, both, you know, vehicular and public transport. And whilst as commuters we might not be looking forward to that necessarily, I think that's music to our ears when it comes to outdoor advertising, because it means there's significant audiences there to play for. So what does this mean for brands? I guess the last 15 months or so, certainly from my perspective, going through town, it's been eerily quiet. You expect to see these kind of big brand campaigns and colour on the streets. And there's been numerous surveys over the years which show that people actually, they're entertained by outdoor advertising. They like it. When it's done right, it informs them, it entertains them, and we've missed that. And I think from a client perspective, there's an opportunity to tap into and reconnect with audiences as they get back into the cities and onto the streets, and you know, be part of the level of excitement and optimism that's currently out there. And that's an exciting place to be, I think. And my final message then for this morning is think outdoor this summer, and I hope that's something that we'll all do. So thanks very much.
Okay, thanks a million, Tony. Really interesting stuff there, and definite indications that our cities are starting to come back in a big way as well, which is great. And I think that point is an important one for us all to consider. Is the types of cities that are going to be emerging, I guess, post-pandemic. And Declan, I might just bring you back in on this here. Tony there referenced pedestrianisation and perhaps a more leisurely social environment that's emerging within our cities in the future. Certainly pre-pandemic, we were already seeing restrictions on cars. There was reducing speed limits, much more of an emphasis on public transport and on cycling, for instance. So there's a real debate about where we go from here, I guess. How do you think how these cities will be re-emerging will affect how brands communicate in those locations?
Yeah, I think the cities are going to have to work hard to give people good reasons to stay. If you look at that kind of hybrid model of, you know, working from home and also in the office, I see there's a lot of sort of support for that setup. So what you don't want is the complete donut effect, you know, where the cities become less vibrant. But we definitely see a role of more people, you know, staying in the community, but spending in the community. And other trends that I think might impact is, you know, we've changed how we shop as well. We're so much more used to buying things online. So I think there's a job to be done, all right, for the cities to make them more welcoming. And Tony referred to some of those steps. but you know, we're going to have to work hard to bring people back in and give them good reasons to stay and to spend. I wouldn't mind if John McGee would confirm or deny that he was one of the people queuing up for pennies who got his appointment. But there's a lot of that pent up demand, and I'm going to call it sort of pent up desire. Young people dying to get back out and socializing. So I think the opportunity area is there to actually capture that and make people then stick with it and create those good habits. John, what did you buy?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I thought I was being clever yesterday morning by going over to Dundrum Town Centre at 9:30 in the morning, thinking that nobody else would be there. Of course, the centre was absolutely chock-a-block, and there was a queue for pennies. I decided I'd give it a miss this time, Declan, but when I get there, I'll let you know. But I think, yeah, to take up your point, I think, yeah, cities are going to be challenged in the future. You know, you referenced online shopping, and you look at, you know, the impact that's having on the retail sector. You know, there's brands, a number of leading international retail brands have left Grafton Street, for example. You know, what's going to replace them? You know, obviously, I'm sure some other retail brand will come in at a greatly reduced rents. But there's also things like the city needs to work hard at, as you know, affordability of rents in city centre areas. You know, to make cities living, breathing entities again. And you know, we need to look at that. And we also, you know, people leaving offices. I mean, if you walk around parts of Dublin too, you know, around the Leeson Street, Fitzwilliam Square, Marion Square area, you know, there's an awful lot of signs to let, offices to let, you know, and that's an indication of, you know, people are either downsizing or retreating to the suburbs, or you know, so that's going to be a big challenge for city planners. But I wouldn't be too downbeat about it. You know, I think cities can be living, breathing cultural spaces that benefit society and the economy. You know, and I think the OOH industry and local council, the city council, can play a role in this, as well as private enterprise. I mean, you know, if you go back to when Dublin city bikes were introduced, I mean, that was an amazing thing, you know, in the industry. I mean, it's, you know, we think of the OOH industry largely as, you know, billboards and T-sides and, you know, digital screens. You know, it should be more than that, you know, and, you know, the Dublin bike scheme is a perfect example of that, you know, but that requires kind of innovative thinking, you know, and, you know, I'm all for innovation, but I mean, while digital and, you know, has been one of the biggest innovations in the outdoor over the last number of years, I think we need a lot more of that, but I also think we need a lot more thinking, and that is going to involve, as I said, city council in particular, and, you know, there are huge opportunities, I believe, for the private sector, for advertisers and the city council to create, you know, safe public spaces within our cities, you know, that will benefit and enrich, I suppose, the cultural and economic life of the city. You know, whether it's kind of safe zones for eating, drinking, or the arts. You know, and I'm talking about outdoor, obviously. You know, I think we need to get used to this, I suppose, outdoor living, if you want to call it. But, you know, other cities in Europe that have much colder climates than ours have embraced outdoor dining for years and years. I don't see why we shouldn't be any different, you know, providing it's done, as I said, in a safe, friendly, and I suppose warm manner. So I think there's huge opportunities. There's also, you know, lots of risks and challenges facing you know, cities, but I also think there's huge opportunities for, you know, private enterprise, for outdoor firms and the city council to come together and try and solve some of these challenges and some of the problems that we face going forward. And you know, let's see what we can do next. And as I said, Dublin City Bikes was a perfect example of that forward, innovative thinking. What's next? You know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think in terms of some of the other media owners who are going to be on with us in the next couple of weeks as well, I think some of the developments they're going to share will speak to some of the points you've made there exactly, John. So there's definitely moves in the right direction in that regard. Tony, John mentioned Dublin Bikes there. Maybe an indicator of how the city is changing is how that service has been used and how it's going to be used in the future. Now Dublin Bikes, as it's known now, huge success. Recent expansion also speaks to some of those changes that we're seeing in the city.
Yeah, for sure. Now Dublin Bikes has been a huge success over the last 10 years, and you know, it was great to take on now as the new sponsor, and kudos to them for backing the scheme at a time when, you know, as a result of restrictions, journey numbers were obviously falling. But you know, in terms of the infrastructure that's been put in place in Dublin City in terms of cycle lanes, and also the fact that we electrified half the fleet earlier this year, just in the last couple of months, all those things will help people when they come back into the offices and need a commuting option, and even just for leisure as well, to get around the city and to use bikes. The cities are becoming more bike friendly and pedestrian friendly, as we've already pointed out. So it's a good time for cycling. And even as an example, we introduced a new app earlier this year as well when we launched with now Dublin Bikes, and you can take out bikes now from your phone, which is it's an easier process than it was before. Okay, so what we've seen as a result of that is that there's been a huge increase in the number of short-term subscriptions. So people who want to take out a 3-day ticket, even with the restrictions that are in place, they're up 33% on 2019. And when you think about 2019, the city would have been awash with tourists at that time. So I think that's a strong indication that there's more life in the city already than people maybe give credit for, and there's a lot to look forward to as things start to reopen and people start coming back in. And I think they are being encouraged in the right way to come back in. So we're looking forward to that. Okay,
thanks a million. Okay, look, to wrap up each session, we're going to look very briefly at an opportunity for brands that 2021 will bring. And this week we're going to look at domestic tourism. So there's a huge amount of statistics and studies, news reports revealing an expected mass movement of people around the island this summer, eager for a break, obviously. And Declan, just a quick one for you again. The country won't have the influx of foreign holidaymakers that it would normally have, but what we will have is a much bigger domestic audience right across the summer. People who make purchase decisions within this market. That's surely something for brands to consider in the months ahead.
Yeah, the vast majority of campaigns, we're targeting a domestic audience. So this summer and beyond actually represents a very unique opportunity to target those. All these stats are pointing to people staying here, holidaying here, that pent up demand and desire to get away from the same four walls. It's going to be a bumper summer of people staying in the country, holidaying, spending money. I think that represents a huge opportunity for Irish advertisers.
Right, and Louise, just from your point of view then, are you seeing evidence of that with brands targeting that audience this summer and the plans that are coming through at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. A huge amount of staycation targeting brands or briefs across a wide range of brands, from kind of your pre-holiday essentials, doing your big shop when you go away. Our eating habits tend to change when we're on holidays. So, you know, the treats and all those kind of things. And then, you know, locationally targeting routes out of Dublin, targeting seaside, coastal areas, cycleways, national parks, you know, all those kinds of areas have been a huge part of the vast majority of briefs coming into us for the summer. So yes, it's a massive element of the plans that we're looking at the moment.
Right, and Tony, seeing some of the potential of JCDeco's digital and classic inventory there in your presentation, that opens up some exciting creative opportunities for brands also.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we're looking at a slide here on domestic tourism, and again, I think there's probably a little bit of a job of work to be done in terms of reassuring people that you know, it's safe to travel and stay in hotels and that. And I think even as an example, I'm thinking, it'd be nice to see a campaign using classic out-of-home formats to build that level of confidence and trust. And then maybe to incorporate some digital out-of-home. We can do things like Louise has already shown in terms of data, where you might just show, number of available rooms in hotels by county or something like that. So you can make the message really relevant by using digital out-of-home to, enhance the campaign and deliver the right message, right time, the right audience. So there's plenty of opportunities to do that type of campaign, and I think that's something that could be done a little bit more, in fact, just to make sure we're using outdoor in the right way.
Super stuff. John, any final thoughts on this or anything else in the section?
Yeah, well, just on the domestic tourism, I mean, I tried booking a holiday in Kerry and Galway there about 2 weeks ago. Couldn't get anything until the middle of September. So if anybody finds a suitable 2-bedroom apartment or house, let me know.
Yeah, the black market.
I think that's a great thing. I mean, it isn't, after what the economy's been through over the last 12, 14 months, I would definitely be encouraging people to holiday in Ireland. And, the only thing about that is if everybody in Dublin vacates the city and heads off to Connemara or Donegal or Kerry or whatever, as it'll be an interesting summer. But, let's face it, I mean, the tourism industry in Ireland needs our support, and I would encourage everybody to take a holiday here in Ireland this year.
Great. Look, thanks very much. And I think we're at our 45 minutes now. I'm just going to wrap up for this week. Just to thank you all for joining us. Huge thanks to today's panel, to Tony, to John, to Louise, and to Declan. If you haven't registered for next week, please do so. You need to register for the individual sessions individually. You can do so on our website or at Eventbrite. Next week, we'll be joined by Antoinette O'Callaghan from Exterior Media, Simon Killeen from Folk, Wunderman Thompson, and Stephen Wade from Initiative. The session will be called The Bridge Between Worlds. We'll be looking at bus advertising and the relationship between out of home and online amongst others. So see you next Thursday, 10:30 to 27th of May. Have a great weekend outdoors. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Right.